right, Erin Regan, welcome to the Breaking and Entering Advertising Podcast. How the heck are you today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on. I'm excited to be here.
Of course, excited to have you. Where are you recording in from today?
I am recording in from Full Contact's office in Boston, Massachusetts.
Love it. Was just in Boston not too long ago. I think it's a great city. How long have you been in Boston?
I have been in Boston for over 20 years. So,
Incredible.
Yes.
Have you lived anywhere outside of Boston, or worked anywhere outside of Boston?
Absolutely. So I'm a military brat. So I moved every year of my entire life. So up until the age of 17, I was constantly on the road. So I feel like I've experienced a lot of different places throughout the US. But I moved here for school, loved it so much, decided to stick around. But throughout my career, I've worked across agencies both in Boston and New York. That had offices around the globe. So I've spent, a couple months in New York here and there, a couple months in London. So I've had the opportunity to travel and spend time, even though my home base has been headquartered here in Boston for quite some time.
Got it. Cool. Any fun facts, or if people are visiting Boston, they come to work in Boston, where should they, or fun facts, or where they should go to eat? Or attractions real quick?
Yeah, well, I'm not sure when this is going to get released, but the Celtics' first game of the season was yesterday. So obviously, Boston, big sports town, was a huge event here since they won last year. And there was a big unveiling for them receiving their rings. But, obviously Fenway Park or the TD Garden are always great hotspots to visit when you're in Boston. It's a beautiful time of year to come in the fall and the spring. The seaport has been built up quite significantly over the last couple of years. So a lot of people like to have drinks and dinner out on the waterfront. So, you can walk the city. It's so walkable. You can walk around for a few days and kind of hit all the hot spots, a lot of history as well.
Love it. Thank you for sharing. So, Erin, you are a partner at Full Contact Advertising.
Yes.
We're going to talk about what that means, how you got to be a partner and managing partner, how you got here, how you broke into the industry. Want to definitely learn about Full Contact, where you all stand in the agency landscape. How does that sound for a loose agenda?
It sounds great.
And what do you think the thesis or the main takeaways will be from this recording?
Yeah, obviously, I'd love to share a bit about how I broke into advertising and my point of view and kind of where the industry is headed today, but also where this incredible place that I'm sitting in right now, where this agency kind of owns their white space in the agency landscape and how we deliver success for our clients.
Well, I can't wait to learn. And I'm sure our listeners are ready to follow along. So let's kick it off here then. So let's talk about what does it mean to be a managing partner at Full Contact Advertising, and let's just kind of piece this together. Let's walk through what Full Contact Advertising is. How does that sound?
Sure, sounds good. So as you mentioned, I'm a managing partner and co-owner of Full Contact Advertising. So we're a Boston-based independent creative agency that's been around for almost 20 years. And the agency was really created to move at speed and scale compared to the larger holding companies. And that entrepreneurial vision has really stood true and stood the test of time over the last 20 years since its inception. But really, most importantly, what Full Contact does is we exist to make impact for our clients. And that could be financial impact, creative impact, cultural impact, consumer impact, but it's impact that drives consumers to take action. So try, buy, engage, like, share, all of that repeatedly. And we deliver on that through what we call branded performance. So we hear a lot of agencies who say they're really good at brand building, a lot of agencies that say they're really good at performance, but we really believe the power of modern marketing comes at the intersection between those two things and doing them well. And that's driving the urgency of sales coupled with brand building. And we deliver that across a pretty diverse portfolio of clients, from Butcher Box, which is a sustainable meat and seafood subscription service, to Body Armor, hydration beverages, to First Citizens Bank, which is a top 20 bank here in the US, to so many more.
Incredible, incredible, cool brands. I've seen a lot of ads for ButcherBox, so um, it's working. At least I might be in the target there,
Yeah,
but maybe I'll have to try
absolutely.
it out.
It's an incredible product. And yeah, the clients are based here in Boston. So they're in our office almost every Wednesday.
I love that. Love that. Incredible. So, yeah, like balancing the top and bottom of the funnel is really important. And I've heard of some agencies that specialize in top or in the awareness side, and then some of the performance marketing agencies that are really bottom of the funnel. And it seems like some brands might have multiple agencies to tackle different phases of that funnel. I guess so. You're coming up with a solution at Full Contact. Full Contact's coming up with a solution to do both parts and do them well and effectively. Is that correct?
Yep, absolutely. And we really found that there was this sweet spot of clients, who aren't, multi global businesses that need one agency that can really manage both and see the forest and the trees. So, ButcherBox is a prime example of that. They have an incredibly important performance engine that is always on emails for loyalty, retention, acquisition, but we helped them create a brand wrapper that has elevated them above the competitive set, and helped them really define what they stand for while driving lead generation on an ongoing basis.
Oh, I think that's incredible. I know exactly what how this what that's like and how difficult it is. Starting, I started breaking entering full time, and it's so difficult to. I want to focus on all the fun branding work and all the extensions, but then we need to focus on also like email campaigns and driving sales and do outbound like marketing like that, and it's so hard to balance both and
Absolutely.
to master both, or to have a partner like you all to assist with that and really drive results and impact that's a really great offering, and to own that is incredible.
So you know better than anyone that you really can't do one without the other.
Totally. Totally. Yeah, it gives it like a lens as well. Like you have your strong branding, and then you know how to go out and your messaging and doing that really clearly on the bottom side of the funnel. I think it's so imperative to have both and do it well.
Absolutely.
I just don't know how to do it on my own. The
Hire us
bottom.
with
Totally. Totally.
you.
Um, Incredible. So you got ButcherBox, and what were some of those other clients again? So I don't miss out.
Yeah, absolutely. Body Armor, hydration products, First Citizens Bank. We have a lot of regional retail clients
Hmm.
like Papa Gino's, Not
Good
Your
name.
Average Joe's. So a good mix of both national and regional clients.
Love it. Love it. And can we talk about the makeup of the agency? Like I guess my question is because I talked to a lot of like traditional like full service larger agencies, and I understand the landscape of the different roles, from art direction, copywriting, strategy, account management. So where like can you teach me and our listeners like how do you get some of that performance? Like what are some of those roles in the performance side,
Mm-hmm.
the lower end of the funnel, like that you need, or is there hybrid roles? How are you guys? What does the team look like for that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, just to kind of level set on terms of how we're set up as an
Sure.
organization, there are three partners: myself, Marty Donahue, and Mark Batista, and the three of us serve as business leads across the client portfolio, and we really lean in kind of based on our own expertise. In terms of what we bring to the table and how we kind of divide up the portfolio. And then, I think everything starts and begins with strategy. So it's really important for us to align early and often on the KPIs that we're going to be delivering based on the challenges at hand. And that's not novel, but incredibly important when you're building a branded performance engine to make sure that everything directly correlates and can be measured and optimized based on working with our clients. A lot of our clients have pretty robust, dynamic in-house agency teams as well. So we are building our team to enhance and be an extension of those existing in-house teams. So kind of the next step once we've aligned on everything is coming up with that big, brand platform, that brand wrapper that will
Hmm.
really help you create your, ownable breakthrough idea and market, and then building the right creative team to deliver on the performance engine within that. So we have designers who are specifically focused on writing thousands of emails for ButcherBox over the course of the year. And although it's not obviously their full-time job, they'll work on different accounts within the company. 50% of their time is focused on really delivering on the performance engine for ButcherBox, which is paid social, email, and some video components.
Yeah.
And then obviously having the analytics team that is constantly measuring that, reporting back to our team so that we can measure and optimize that. And I think if you were to go to a pure performance agency, that creative team typically looks more like a production arm. They're really focused on changing out the headlines very quickly or changing out an image, where ours are integrated creative directors who are also writing Super Bowl ads for Body Armor.
Yeah.
So they bring a higher caliber kind of aesthetic to the table, and they're looking at everything holistically as well as the granular elements of the campaign they're delivering.
Love it. Incredible. You
Yes.
mentioned there are three partners, and you're one of them.
Yes.
And you mentioned that each of you have you lead different accounts and have your own specialties. So, just on you
Sure.
specifically, what would you say is like your secret sauce and how you can really help out and uh, provide value to the clients that you look over?
Yeah, absolutely. So, we talked a little bit. We haven't kind of dug into my background. I was
Mhm.
an account person, and that's really where I cut my teeth originally. But then I've spent kind of the last over 10 years specifically focused on growth and operations
Yep.
for an agency. So my sweet spot really comes from my new business background, being able to very quickly unearth interesting insights about a brand, write the right brand narrative for that, and then ultimately work with my creative teams to develop campaigns associated. Now, I don't just do new business these days since I'm a partner running the agency, but where we lean, our founding partner is a creative by trade. So he's obviously very focused on the creative product. Our other partner, Mark, really looks at runs our existing client portfolio. And my purview is really the growth and operations of the organization, setting the vision for the next 5 years and helping drive purposeful growth for the team so that we're building the agency in the right way with the people that we have here.
Totally. Love it. And I definitely want to break down your background some more. So let's kick it back, shall we? I'm curious now then, at what moment in your life did you decide you wanted to make ads for a living?
Yeah. I think compared to many, my path may have not been the most direct, although I'm sure you talk to so many people, everyone has a bit of a different spin on it. But as I mentioned to you, I grew up an Air Force brat, so I moved every year. So I was constantly moving to a lot of small towns, big urban centers, and I was always keeping kind of a journal, tracking the different parts of the country, things I've observed about the people that I was meeting with. And I was just really naturally curious about people and their behavior. And I loved writing. So I wrote short stories, diary entries, observations. And maybe if someone had told me that I could have been a cultural anthropologist, I would have done something like that.
Sounds like a
But
strategist. Sounds like an aspiring
yeah,
strategist right now.
yeah, exactly. But when I was 17, I left where my family was living at the time in Shreveport, Louisiana, and I headed to Boston to attend Boston College, where, as any 17-year-old who had no idea what I wanted to do, I was kind of waffling between finance and communications, which are not the same things. But very quickly and luckily identified that there was an incredible intersection between those two things, which was marketing. So At that point, I don't think I actually still knew a ton about advertising. This was pre Mad Men on TV. I think Facebook had just started and it was for college students only. Digital advertising was in its infancy. So I did what any smart, young graduate did is I joined a startup. And it happened to be an e-commerce startup called CSN Stores. And it was a really interesting time to come in to that space because buying furniture online was not something that people had the behavior and they were doing on an ongoing basis. Oh, I should also say, you guys will probably recognize CSN Stores because in 2011 it became Wayfair. So I'm predating myself, but it was early days before Wayfair became what it is today. But it was an incredible training ground around helping create a new behavior for consumers. And I spent a lot of time working with the advertising team, which I think was one person at the time, and realized that that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to build brands and change consumer behavior. And I wanted to figure out a way to do that a lot more often across a lot of brands. So enter advertising. I ended up networking a lot. And one of the people I met with was the CMO of Fidelity at the time. And he told me that, I really needed to get my MBA in advertising, which the best place to do that at was Arnold Worldwide. So Arnold at the time was, a big agency with some of the biggest brands in the world. I think they had 10 offices, Progressive Insurance, Jack Daniels, Ocean Spray, the Hershey Company, McDonald's, you name it. And I walked in and I was like, I have to work here. So although it wasn't my first job out of school, I was willing to start at the entry point for account management. And, I took a sizable pay cut to do that. And, at the time, they actually didn't have any openings. I ended up going in informationally, I think over the course of like maybe 3 to 6 months. And I was vigilant about following them in the news. I'd see them win a new piece of business. I'd email the HR lead. I saw them launch new work. I'd email the HR lead. And I think they realized I just wasn't going to quit. So I ended up eventually coming into interview and started there on the Tyson Foods account, and then ended up working across a lot of their CPG portfolio. But I think my career changed and really began when I made the decision to move into new business.
So
So
before new business, you were on the account track.
Exactly. I was on the account track. And, I had gotten the opportunity to work on a few pitches. And I think there's nothing more valuable. And I was at a great point in my career where I thought, I could do this. Working in new business is super intensive in nature. They told me that, typically people last about a year. And the good news is in that year you do so much that you can kind of go on to choose what you want to do next. So I thought, great, I can do this for a year. And most importantly, it gives you access to the most senior people across not only Arnold but at Havas at the holding company level. It was the ability to compete on, I think, the largest stage in advertising, to be in the room with the smartest minds while the magic was happening. I learned how to be a storyteller, how to be a strategist, a creative, a comms planner. And it was really my job to be the director of the show. I was the person hustling for new opportunities, the phone call, recipient when the opportunities came in. And I was the person who delivered the winning or losing news. And I ended up doing that for about 4 years, actually. So I made it past the 1 year
Incredible.
mark.
That's incredible.
Going.
Yeah.
Yes. And as I mentioned, I ended up kind of working my way up to the head of new business for Arnold across the offices, and as the kind of connected point to the larger Havas network when we worked on global opportunities. And, at the end of my 4 years, I decided that I had honed my experience and built my network and felt like I had the confidence to go out and start my own consulting company. And that allowed me to work with more agencies and more brilliant people and build my network out further until I ultimately joined Full Contact as a owner and managing partner. So, over that time, I got to know my two business partners, actually working on a number of projects with them over the last 10 years. So what was great is, coming together, the three of us, we've been able to hit the ground running because of that previous experience working together. And we've seen a lot of great success. I joined the team in February, and we've seen about 25% growth since then. So it's been an incredible ride thus far, but it's still early days.
I see a lot of parallels with my own career and what you accomplished and have done. I worked at Havas Chicago, which is in the same holding company as Havas, obviously, and Arnold is also in that. So I was on the new business and comms team, and I also was connected to the higher Havas like global pitch team, if you will. And I've been to the Arnold office, and I've seen the growth leaders there. It's just incredible. Like, I think new business in general, like if anybody's listening and just breaking in or in the industry, like volunteer for those new business pitches. They seem like they're definitely extra work, but like you said, hitting on this point that the visibility is so effective to progress your career. It will help you so much with the leadership because they're bringing their best people onto these pitches. Chief strategy officers, chief creative officers, they're pulling in subject matter experts from across the network. Uh, we both know this. Like it's just great visibility to get to where you want to be. You can, if you win the business, I mean, you could probably ask for raises and stuff like that. It goes a long way, but it helps you learn so much too.
It also makes you excellent at dinner parties because you know so much about so many different things, from pharmaceuticals to cars to,
Hmm.
consumer product goods. So I feel like you can always find something interesting to bring up since you're working across so many different
Yeah,
industries and brands.
and it makes for good podcast guests and hosts.
Yeah, fodder, I guess.
Yeah. Um, I think there's sometimes there's entry level or like mid level new business coordinators at agencies. Especially the larger holding company owned agencies. I think um, you can definitely look out for those opportunities for those that are interested in account management, but are a little bit more competitive, a little bit more
Mhm.
ferocious. You should definitely check those out, like new business coordinators or whatever the position titles might be. Um,
Absolutely. And you can always move into account management,
yeah.
and or it, like you said, it gives you access to so many different leaders. I've seen people jump into strategic roles. I've seen people go back to school to build their creative portfolios, but you get visibility into all the different facets, and you have to wear all those hats because at the end of the day, it's timely and urgent, and a new business pitch has to get done, and
Hmm.
somebody's got to do it.
Yeah. A lot of travel too.
A lot of
Um,
travel.
yeah. Wonderful. So then, I like then you got a lot of experience in 4 years, and then you amassed so much knowledge that you decided to go consult. So helping
Yes.
out other agency, I'm assuming it was helping out agencies that need support or some advice on how to better their new business strategies, how to stand out, maybe helping with their pitches and stuff like that. Is that accurate?
Yeah, so it was meant for brands, marketers, and agencies to help develop the right blueprint to deliver growth. And that could be, a lot of the time, it was just helping them refine their positioning and narrative. So telling the right story in the market. Some of the time, it was developing the right prospecting engine. So figuring out what the right levers were to drive leads for their specific business. And then for agencies in particular, it was helping them assess their new business toolkit, ensure that they're delivering the right story, case studies, materials to be able to deliver success. So a little bit of a mix of everything. I will say I spent the majority of my time working with both creative and media agencies. And, that's obviously where I met a lot of great people, which is how I ended up sitting here talking to you today.
Yeah. Yeah. Got it. Got it. And then what was going on in your mind when you got reached out to at full contact or did you reach out to them? I guess where were you at in your life that you thought that this is the right next step, that I'm going to full contact?
So Marty was my first in full contact, he hired me to come on and help them kind of refine their new business engine. So he's actually my first client when I was
Got it.
consulting. And I think it was pretty clear almost immediately that, we were seeing a lot of success. They were gaining momentum and getting some wins. And I think at that point was the first time he approached me. And this was 4 years ago now, about potentially coming on as a partner and staying long term. And at the time, it was COVID, and I wasn't quite ready, I think, to move back into working in an agency world versus working as a consultant. But it stayed in my mind, and he planted the seed. And we probably had 10 conversations in between now and then obviously the year leading me up to joining full time. This year, there were a lot of conversations that happened between us and the three partners. But I think for me, my advice to everyone was, I kept thinking that there was going to be this perfect time for me to make the leap. And there's never a good time to take a risk, right? There's never this moment where the stars align and you're like, someone set me a sign that, this is what I'm supposed to do. So I probably did it like the backwards way, where, I had a 6-month-old home at the time and I wasn't sleeping that much, but I thought now's the right time for me to do it. And it ended up working out really well, because I feel like I've actually never been more focused and driven, because I'm just so energized and excited to build this company with people I respect and admire. And, doing that while raising young kids, it might seem like, the stars didn't align completely, but I don't have time to waste, right? So I'm here, and we're here to build this company and get shit done.
I love it. I respect it. I am motivated by this. So appreciate you sharing that. As you've, you know, done a lot of growth and development for agencies, and now that you're doing that at full contact, and you're going to grow the heck out of it, very in the near, as you are now, and more so in the near future. Like looking back, I guess, what's some advice that you would have for agency professionals if they're trying to grow, or maybe grow their own career, either the business or their own career?
Yeah. So I would say, back to our first and foremost, like, new business is a great way to be in the
Mhm.
room. Always try to find ways to be in the rooms that you're not in and just absorb and learn. But I think the biggest takeaway for me in my career is that I have always tried to be incredibly generous with my time. So taking that moment to train someone, taking that moment to have a conversation with your friend's brother who's trying to break into the industry. And that's how I've built my network. And building that network is what allows you to, really continue to work with the incredible people that you love working with. So I've gone to another agency and brought, my whole team with me before, because I know and I trust them.
Mhm.
um, but I've also gotten a lot of opportunities with clients, friends, and colleagues that became clients because I stayed in contact with them from a networking perspective. And it all boils down to, like, just taking, even if there's not a direct opportunity or benefit for you in the moment, taking a time to, like, make that coffee date and have that conversation with someone can lead to huge benefits for you, maybe personally or your company professionally down the road. So, there's no time wasted, even though it's really hard sometimes to make time to
Yeah,
have that coffee date.
I respect that. I love that. And for the maybe for some of the marketers that might be listening on the brand side, any advice for them on like finding the right agency, looking for the right people? What would you say to them?
Yeah, I mean, it all boils down to, finding a partner that's indispensable, that makes you better. So, a lot of times I have gotten to the finish line on pitches, and a marketer said, well, it was a tight race, so we just picked them because, they worked on a brand that's exactly like ours in the past. And you're not buying an agency, you're buying the people within that agency. So I think being less focused on, the work they did historically over the last 10 years, and being more focused on the person who's going to be answering your phone calls, who's going to be building those decks with you late at night, who's going to be helping you do the best work of your career. It's really about the people that make up that agency, not necessarily the agencies themselves. So I would just be really sure that you trust, and you trust the people that you're working with. And so again, that goes back to like keeping those people in your network and following people. There's so many clients that have hired us over and over again as they change roles, because that trust is there and they know that we're going to do everything we can to knock it out of the park for them.
Totally. I always say it's the same for the job search process. Um, you want to find, the agency names sometimes remain the same most of the time. They're not changing, but the people within it are moving around. So when you're
Yeah.
looking for your first time job, find out who made the work, where they're at. That's a better approach than going for the big names and the traditional agencies that you've read about in your textbooks, because they're completely different.
Right.
So,
And I mean, you could be the best agency in the world for one brand, but maybe not be right for the next.
of
So
course.
again, like there's chemistry is incredibly important. And, you never want to be a small fish in a big pond. You want to be like the right fit for the team that you're working with.
Yeah, totally. I love it. Erin, anything else that I should have asked about that we didn't get to talk about?
I guess the only other thing would be like advice I have for just people who are like trying to enter the
Yeah,
advertising world.
bring it in.
Yeah, I feel passionately because what we do for a living is cool, right? It's fun, it's interesting, and I can't tell you how many people I've interviewed over the years or met with informationally who want to work in advertising. But when I ask them, what's your favorite campaign that you've seen recently, or what's a piece of work that's really moved you in the last year, they don't always have an answer. And so, you can have the best resume in the world, but I look for people who are passionate and who are hustling and who are self starters and they're hungry to do what we want to do. And I believe that creativity comes from everywhere in our business, whether you're an account person or a strategist or a creative person. And I just want to see that creativity shine through. Everybody brings their own hot sauce to their role in advertising. So make sure that, you're really showcasing how you can be a great self-starter and solve creative problems versus, pointing to the 16 internships you've had before, we got to meet.
I hear you. I think this is great, especially for the non-creative. Well, all roles are creative, but there's non-creative roles on paper, right? Like your account roles, your new business roles. You're not necessarily going into Adobe, and that you don't have to have the graphic design skills, but the, you want to be in advertising, so you should have taste and have ads that you respect, recent, and staying in touch with those. I think that's important. That just because you're in the account side, or you want to break into account side and in the management world of this business, doesn't mean that that's an excuse. It's no excuse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have a point of view.
Yeah. I love it. How can people reach out, Erin, if they want to say hello and if they want to learn more about Full Contact? Where would they go if they want to talk with you?
Absolutely. You can visit gofullcontact.com, or you can email me at Erin@gofullcontact.com. And like I said, I'm generous with my time, so I'm happy to jump on the phone and chat with anyone further and tell them, all there is to know about the incredible talent that we have here.
Love it. And I want to make it back out to Boston again. So I'd love to say hello, see headquarters, and meet some of the folks there. So I will be in touch for that.
Absolutely. Maybe don't come in January, but any other time of year, I feel like fair game.
Okay. Well, gotcha. Is that because it's just like super cold?
It's cold and it's snowy, and yeah,
I'm from
exactly.
Chicago. I get it. I'm used
You can
to it.
handle it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, great. Thank you again, Erin. This has been fantastic. I hope everybody listening, please reach out, check out Full Contact's website. And yeah, it's fantastic stuff.
Appreciate it. Thanks so
Mhm.
much for having
Of
me.
course.